Hi, and welcome to Essential ChiroCare's Core Conditioning. I have Roni Sloman with me from Bella Prana Yoga, and we're going to go just over some very basic core strengthening that you can do every day. You don't necessarily have to be in a studio or in a gym to do so. We're going to start off with 3 different positions. One, always working with a very basic, then to an intermediate, and then when you're ready to an advanced. So we're going to start off with basic core. The core being right here in the belly, our 6-pack muscle, moving on to some oblique work. So what I'm going to have Roni do is go ahead and bring her knees bent right above her hips. Now there's a couple modifications. What you want to stay away from is the knees actually coming over the chest here. It takes all of the core work out and brings it into the hip flexors. So we want to bring the knees right above the hips and the heels right in line with the knees. In this position, what you're doing is you're actually stabilizing through the 6-pack muscle, the rectus abdominis. From here, all she's going to do is just hold. You want to work up to 20 seconds, 30 seconds, minute and a half. When you're ready to move on to the intermediate position, you're going to take and turn the palms up towards the ceiling, lift the arms about 1 inch off the ground, and rotate the head, neck, and shoulders up. So from this position, she's actually contracting a little bit deeper into the core. Her shoulders are relaxed, there's no tightness or tension in the shoulders. If you have neck issues from this position, she's going to bring her hands, fingertips touching her earlobes, elbows opened nice and wide, and there's an open space between her chin and her chest. She's looking up towards the ceiling as opposed to down towards her knees. All she's going to do in this position is just hold. Again, working from 30 seconds up to a minute. To increase a little bit more, she's going to bring the arms right back down to the sides, and she's going to extend the legs into a full extension. If you have issues with hamstring flexibility, you can always keep a slight bend in the knees. I'm going to have Roni stay in a full extended position. Movement of the feet really doesn't matter at this point. You can keep them flexed or point the toes. So from here, she's just stabilizing. She's not crunching, she's not doing sit-ups, she's just stabilizing through her core. Holding for as long as you can, then coming down, she's going to bring her knees into her chest, hands onto her shins, and just let the abdominals rest. Rocking back and forth for a few minutes. When you're ready, we're going to continue on to an oblique exercise. So Roni's going to go ahead and move into the extended position, again starting off beginners, knees bent, intermediate, and then advanced. Bringing the knees right over the hips one more time. Arms are going to stay down by the side. Now for this position, it's going to be a little bit tricky to try to move. The easiest way to do this is to think about your tailbone pressing down to the ground so her hips are flat the entire time. She's going to move through the abs. So she's going to think about bringing her hips up towards her shoulders without lifting her behind off the ground. So from here, she's going to almost drive a car with her feet. She's going to shift the hips side to side. In doing so, she's still contracting from the 6-pack muscle, but now she's using her obliques as a primary mover. I'm going to modify her just a little tiny bit and bring her back to center. Now this can become a little bit confusing if you start to bring the hip flexors into it. So I want you to come back to center, and I want you to move through the legs. So you can see the difference. Her hips aren't moving as much. She's moving more through the hip flexor here. So we want to take it out of the hip flexor and bring it back into the oblique muscles. So come back to center again and move back into the hips. There we go. So you're going to see more of a movement from the hip to the shoulders the entire time. And you want to work up to maybe 2 sets of 8, 3 sets of 8. And when you're done, knees back into the chest, hands onto the shins. Rock side to side. So for our core conditioning, we've worked the abdominis rectus, we've worked the obliques. Now we're going to flip over and work a little bit of the back muscles. So I'm going to have Roni turn over onto her belly. She's going to start with her hands right underneath her chin. This is going to stabilize her upper body for now, for the beginning posture. Now, in this, you want to start with the glutes, engaging first. She's going to pull her belly button away from the floor. Now, granted, it's not going to move. You just want that contraction through the abdominals. And then she's going to work through the quads, the front of the legs. So what Roni's going to do is take a deep breath in. She's going to exhale and lift just the legs as high as she can off the floor. Inhale down and release, and exhale back up. Now you're going to see she doesn't have a whole lot of movement as she's going through this. Go ahead and continue breathing. and moving up and down. She doesn't have a whole lot of movement. Her hips are not going to lift off the floor. Now, if you have very good back strength, you may get more of a lift from the lower body. Go ahead and do one more for me. So this is a beginner's position. Go ahead and rest. We're going to take it to an intermediate. In the intermediate, she's going to try to lift the upper and the lower body at the same time, stabilizing, keeping her chin right on her hands the entire time. Elbows are shoulder height. She's going to take a deep breath in, exhale and lift. Good, inhale down, and exhale up. You can see as Roni continues to move, there's not a jerking motion with the body. She's not trying to throw the body up and down at the same time. She's very, very slowly contracting and increasing the contraction right here through the low back and through the glutes. Go ahead and do one more for me, please. And release. Now we're going to move into a more advanced. So what Roni's going to do is take her arms right by her ears, palms turned down. So she's going to move the upper body and lower body at the same time. She's going to take a deep breath in, exhale and lift up. She's going to hold here. The contraction is through the low back as well as the glutes. From here, she's going to move in opposite right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg, and she's going to swim. This motion comes from the hips as well as the shoulders. She's stabilizing from shoulder to hip. These are the only movements. She's going slow right now. You can actually take it a little bit faster. Her view is down towards the ground, so there's no tightness or tension in the head and neck. Okay, take a couple more breaths as you're moving. And release down. When you've done these three postures, you can go ahead and shift back into child's pose. Take the tightness and tension off the low back. She's stretching out through the arms, the hips, the hamstrings. This position is going to be a very relaxing position. We went over this position in video 1 and 2 for lower back care. She's just going to take a couple deep breaths. And that's it. Your practice should only take maybe 5 to 8 minutes. Do this 2 or 3 times, work up to 3 to 4 times.